Hello and welcome back to another episode of Boys Gone Wild.
We're in the middle of week 4. This is hump day. These are the tough ones. The middle ones, this is when I'm most creatively spent and I'm really clutching at straws, But we're going to do it. I'm going to carry on doing weekdaily podcasts till probably the end of this week. I don't know if I can carry on after this because it's starting to damage my brain. I don't think I can stretch you can only have so many hot takes in a day, and I really think I might be damaging my brain permanently, constantly firing out
spicy hot takes.
I'm becoming a nightmare to be around. Mum can't have a casual conversation with me without me just undercutting and saying, oh yeah, you think this? Well, how about this? Bang. I've been getting a lot of comments, and I've had this throughout my whole career, saying that I'm like Ramesh Ranganathan. He's like a 45-year-old Indian guy with a lazy eye. I feel like quite far removed, but I think it's probably because I have quite lifeless eyes and very deadpan humour. But it's weird. It's something that I've got my whole career, if you can call playing to up to 3 to 4 people in back rooms of pubs a couple of times a week, a career. Throughout my career, my glittering career, people have constantly compared me to Ramesh Ranganathan or accused me of stealing his shtick, as if he's the only one who's allowed to be miserable. But I genuinely don't see it. But I think there's an argument, because Ramesh Ranganathan is from Crawley, and he's the only person in kind of mainstream, the mainstream circuit, who I think has a specific Sussex accent. For those of you who don't know Sussex, it's a county just outside London. It's where Brighton is, and his accent, I don't know what it is, but I only really hear that accent in Sussex. And I think there's also an argument for a Sussex sense of humour, because there's always northern sense of humour, Welsh sense of humour, Scottish sense of humour, but I think there is such thing as a Sussex sense of humour with comedians like Ramesh Ranganathan, Sean McLaughlin, and maybe even me to a certain extent, because I have lived here for the last 10 years. And I think it's just a complete love of everything bleak and failure. I think there's just a complete enjoyment in the utter bleakness of existence, and it gives a profound sense of joy being grumpy. I think there's definitely an argument for that to being a sort of Sussex style, because my humour's a lot like the kids I grew up in school with. We were all like this, so you can imagine we were an absolute nightmare. But we're not here to talk about failure, we're here to talk about success, because my boy gone wild today is the very famous, probably the most famous motivational speaker at the moment on the internet, Gary Vaynerchuk, and that's how you say it, or Gary Vee as he's shortened it for branding purposes. So Gary Vee is a short Belarusian American entrepreneur. He came over from the Soviet Union at the age of 3. He came over with a Jewish immigrant family who worked very hard and built a liquor store. He didn't do very well at school, but then when he got out of school, he turned his dad's liquor store into an online wine library, and then from there on, he shot to become a very successful entrepreneur, putting money into things like Snapchat, Twitter, and things like that. Now he's worth 160 million. But why he's famous, there's quite a lot of people who are worth that sort of money, is because he's really blown up as a motivational speaker. He sort of represents the hustle and the grind.
Hustle is putting it all on the line. Hustle is waking up one day, the day before you die, and realizing you gave it your all.
I think part of the reason why this podcast is sort of obsessed with motivational speakers is, one, they're an epitome of a boy gone wild. I think I'd love to see more female motivational speakers, but it feels like women they don't lack the same self-awareness that men do to be able to go up on stage and use these broad sweeping generalizations about metaphors and parables to a room full of idiots. I just don't know if women have been socially conditioned to be applauded for being as dumb as that. But it seems to be a lot what this podcast is about, is these sort of new idols. Throughout history, you've always had idols or people, teachers who are leading the way. Normally they have a spiritual element or a specifically moral element. But now we're having this new breed of these kind of ridiculous, naive, cold motivational speakers. But Gary Vee, he's different from the ones who I've covered before on the kind of TikTok side of it all. Because Gary is... I don't think Gary's a bad guy, but the problem I have with Gary is that I think he is probably good advice on how to become an entrepreneur. And I think if you really want to be an entrepreneur and you're focused on that very small parameter of life, then he is probably quite a good motivational speaker. He probably knows a lot of what he's talking about. But it feels like he's branching out into a lot of other stuff, and he's giving people a lot of teachings for other stuff, and I think that's when it starts becoming a bit dangerous, because his general philosophy is you never stop working, okay? No weekends. Every fucking hour you work, okay? I worked every single hour of my goddamn life. Huh? You want to buy nice clothes? Go fuck yourself.
Nobody gives a fuck about your feelings, bro.
You want to sleep for 2 hours? Go fuck yourself. I haven't slept in 25 years. Like, his whole thing is it's all about the hustle. It's all about the grind. You should be working for 25 years before you even earn anything. It's like, what? Really? He's this obsession with grind, hustle. Take no days off. Don't buy anything that's not essential. And it's verging on the fact that maybe Gary Vee isn't a good role model. He might just be a psychopath.
I would argue that there was not enough clapping for that part right there, and that the collective energy of this room is bullshit. Let's step it up. Fuck. That was some real shit.
Because I truly believe that Gary Vaynerchuk, I believe him when he says he's happy and he's successful, because I think he is, but I really don't think there's many people built for that sort of life. He's clearly a psychopath who gets his rocks off on completely working as hard as possible. That clearly gets his dick hard, just never taking any weekends off. If you hear him talk about his 20s, it's all him saying, like, when everyone else was going out partying, spending money, having a good time, I was working. I worked every single hour. And, like, the way he talks about it is, like, that your 20s should only be insisted on you working purely towards a goal and your dreams, and that's purely what you should be doing. Anything else is a waste of time. And I genuinely think it will make most people miserable. I think it's terrible advice for a lot of people, because it's this obsession with goals and achievement and money, and, like, I don't know if that's what life should be about. And I think, yes, there's a very certain breed of person who will only be happy if they're doing those sort of things. And the reason why I feel I understand that is because my dad is one of those people. My dad's an entrepreneur. So maybe the reason I'm so drawn to these hilarious motivational speakers and their sort of way, their motivational quotes, is because my dad's sort of part of that breed in a sense. He would always say motivational quotes to me growing up. Oh, Dad, I had to get up that early. Son, the world wakes up early. I don't... Is that relevant? I'm just complaining. Son, do you hear that? The world wakes up early, okay? You wake up earlier than the world will be yours. Yeah? What, the whole world? Well, not the whole world, but you know what I'm saying. What's funny about him is that whenever you challenged him on any motivational quote my dad would say, he would always... he would be very logical and always reconsider. He once went to me, son, there's no shortcuts in life. And I went, what about the lottery? And he goes, all right, so there's a few shortcuts in life. There's a few shortcuts in life. Like, which showed that he believed in the quote more than its metaphorical value. He really was like, okay, no, that's a good point. I'm going to have to, okay, there's only some shortcuts in life. That's the kind of quotes I want to do. There's only a few shortcuts in life. That's my inspirational quote. He was funny. He has a lot of these sort of things. I remember I think I was shopping with my dad and my sister, and he pulled me aside. I think I was looking at like shoes or suit shoes, and he goes like, "Son, here's a big conversation for me and you to have. Shoes and watches, okay? Women, they've got jewelry, makeup. They've got a whole range of things. What men have are your shoes and your watch, okay? That's what shows who you are. It's your shoes and your watch." And then my sister was like, "Dad, can we..." I'm talking to my son, okay? I'm talking to my boy, all right? Shoes and watches, okay? Just a kind of very funny idea of what is valuable in life, but it's kind of, maybe that's why I'm drawn to these people, because they remind me of El Padre. But there was a really funny clip of Gary Vaynerchuk when he was asked about what he thought of meditation, and I'm not sure if I can even find it, so I might or may not be able to bring it up. But someone was like, "So Gary, what do you think of meditation?" He's like, "Look, okay, I'm sure it's helped a lot of people, but I'm not going to meditate because my life is so fucking good right now, okay? I'm so happy, I'm terrified I'm going to fuck it up, okay? Okay? My life is so fucking good right now. I'm terrified I'm going to fuck it up, okay?" And from that clip, it seemed to be one of the best arguments that he was, in fact, one of the people who most needs meditation. It's just like, I find this weird. I think it is very Western, this idea that you need excessive productivity to be successful. There's no stillness or like a value to just doing nothing. Like, we're so bad at doing nothing. Like in India or Eastern cultures, they have whole schools of thought, whole religions based on the skill of just doing nothing. Part of meditation is the ability to just do nothing. And I think there's a lot we can learn from that. Only some, though, not as much as some people say. But Gary Vee's just, he makes me laugh, because there's all these videos of him speaking to people, and he just gives these hilarious solution. "Hey, you working for your dad? Yeah. Okay, you working for your dad? How much does your dad make a year? Okay, 30K. Fire him, okay? Fire him, kill him, bury him in the garden. Throw away the spade, okay? Okay? Alright, thank you, bye! Your mom's telling you that you can't follow your dreams? Get it from mom. Simple, okay? Yeah? What are you good at? Okay? You're good at trampolining, okay? What you gotta do is you gotta quadruple down on trampolining. You've got to be the best fucking trampoliner in the world, okay? And you find who's the best trampoline in the world, okay? And you shit in his father's mouth, okay?
Dude, you want to be the next fucking great director in Hollywood, and you think you gave up after DMing 50 people on Instagram while taking a shit on a Thursday? Fuck you!
He like gives these ridiculous pieces of advice that, because he says it with such confidence, it sounds like very inspired advice. But if you think about a lot of what he's saying, it's just sort of nonsense. But I think the main reason I struggle with Gary Vee becoming more than a entrepreneurial motivational speaker is, and this is with all of them, I don't like seeing people talking in front of huge crowds, sharing lessons on what they think people should be like, if what they think the world should be like is a system which inherently means that most people will be unhappy. Because think about it. Even imagine the nightmare scenario that all of us follow Gary Vee's advice. If all of us just hustle all the time, work super hard.
How do you have the audacity to wish for more fans when you don't go into your own comments, when you only get 17 of them, and reply to the people that are already part of your community? From 2007 to 2011, I spent every day replying to every single tweet and used to go to sleep at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning until I completely got to everybody. And that's how I built my foundation.
If all of us used every waking hour to do the hustle, the grind, and we're just obsessed with business and growth and selling and not buying anything that we didn't think was necessary and undercutting and just went pure capitalism like that, still there would be people who are better and there'd be people who are worse, you know? So it's an impossible system, because if what you're trying to gain is money and sort of success in the business world, it's finite. There can only be a certain amount of people who are that successful. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I struggle with it. Is it's sort of encouraging. It's encouraging a system where there's still a limited amount of winners. Why wouldn't you look for a system which we could all be successful at? Like, instead of money, what if it was just ripping fat clouds? If I was a motivational speaker, I would just say the goal of life is to rip fat clouds.
Perfect.
Because everyone can rip fat clouds. Does that make sense? Like, you don't. It's not a system where it's who rips the fattest cloud. No, just make sure you're ripping fat clouds, and that is something that's achievable. And we don't have to. Doesn't have to necessarily take away from how fat someone else's cloud is. Does that make sense? Am I coming across well? Is it making sense? Is the words coming out my head making sense?
Perfect.
It's just this weird system where I feel if you're looking for a real role model, they should be selling an ideology that everyone can do without it imploding. You know? If we were all Gary Vee, they'd fucking fire your mom. Piss in your dad's mouth. You know? Sell, 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 sell. Eat, eat, eat. Eat bananas. Eat bananas. I haven't eaten a banana in 10 years. I only sell bananas. I make money. I'm Gary Vaynerchuk. I haven't slept in 37 years.
Let me tell you who you're fooling with your look the part.
Other fucking losers.
If we're all like that, then it would still even out as a similar amount of people being successful, you know? Because if success... Because that's the benefit. I'm not going to go all Eastern, because I think a lot of the Westerners liking the Eastern traditions and all that, a lot of it's pretentious bullshit. But the fundamental appeal of that is that in like a Buddhist thing, the success or goal of life is about stillness and oneness and like ridding yourself of the ego, finding nirvana and enlightenment through meditation. This is something that technically, one of the benefits of this as an idea, all of us can do. Like, we can all be successful in that world. But in Gary Vee's world, in Harry Livingston's world, in Billy Garton Jr.'s world, in Jason Capital's world, following their rules, it will still end up with the same amount of winners and losers. Do you know? Anyway. It's been another episode of Boys Gone Wild. And remember, think big, work smart.